But before we talk about movies, we must talk about TV shows.
So here's I'm a very forward-thinking individual. I like to think when it comes to the definition of a movie.
Yeah.
And what we're about to talk about is a TV show, but I have always thought of it as a movie.
Yes.
The only distinction is that it was released in episodes, but it is the length of a normal. It's not like a normal miniseries where
it's like 100
5
minutes.
hours long. It's 100 minutes. You put it all together. Yeah. The only difference is you have credits. But it is it's one of those easily digestible things in a single evening. And it is also something I think we both recommend everyone watch for the Halloween and autumn season.
Yeah, it's just something I'd even feel comfortable watching in like November. But we're, of course, what we're talking about is Over the Garden Wall.
And how the gentle wind beckons through the leaves.
Which is a Cartoon Network miniseries.
Back from like 2013, 2014?
14, which again adds to 2014 being one of the most stacked years of all time. But it's a simple story of two brothers, Greg and Wert, as they try to find their way home through the weird enchanted forest known as the Unknown.
Spoilers for Over the Garden Wall. Please watch it.
It's very good.
Well, we'll try to keep the spoilers by inference for the time being. So in Wert and is from the real world essentially, but his name's Wert.
It's really
what kind of name
funny.
is that?
Because his brother's name's Greg.
Greg.
And then when you find out
normal
later on that they're not from this forest, it's just funny. But yeah, Wert, which I will say this about the Garden Wall, it is the second best fantasy thing that Elijah Wood's ever been in.
I will agree with that. Also, I haven't seen many fantasy things with Elijah Wood.
I don't think there's been much. There's one, was it Lord of the Rings or whatever?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, maybe check it out someday. But I think this is one of those things that I think both of us have been wanting to get to for a long time. Because it's one of those that everyone talks about, especially at this time of year. It's got like crazy good reviews. And I've always, because I think honestly that like a lot of the stuff that came out on Cartoon Network at this time is sort of carrying Western animation on its back. Because they have some really good stuff from around this time that has aged really well. But this is one of those things that, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like one of those things that you kind of have to watch for the first time in the Halloween season. Because I don't think I've seen anything that encapsulates that autumnal aesthetic quite like this.
It is a show that from the opening frames puts you into a mood, and it keeps you there for some time. Yeah. And I think it's more so just the fall season, and I think it has, as we said earlier, it's a broader appeal than just Halloween itself.
Yeah. Well, the Halloween appeal side of it is that it dips into horror a bit, and it takes place on Halloween night. That's why they're dressed as a gnome in a teapot. It could very well work in November as well. It's just it's less about like scares and more about fall.
Well, shall we say the framing story takes place on Halloween night. The narrative itself is more kind of ambiguous with its time frame and
which I personally enjoy. Well, the thing is, discussing the difference between a movie and a TV show in this context is that this is a very, obviously because it's a miniseries, it's very vignetted. It's 10 episodes, 10 minutes long each, and every episode sort of deals with a different set of antagonists or a new area in this woods. So maybe if you
as you go along closer and closer to the end, the episodes start becoming more interconnected and directly leading into one another.
Yes.
Like the opening episodes are very, very episodic. It's, one starts, it ends, you're done, move on. But closer to the end,
the last like 2 or 3 are all close. Yeah. But that works really well, like, especially for those first few episodes, because they have very distinct locations and characters. There's the pumpkin skeleton episode, which I think is just the most like not egregious, it's the most blatantly Halloween thing of all.
That's a good one. Like if you're looking for just you got 10 minutes to spare on Halloween, pop that episode in.
It's a town of pumpkins that are secretly skeletons. It's painfully Halloween, but I enjoy it.
It's really great. And the great thing about the show is the running gag of like manipulating fairy tales and myths and like actual stuff that we're familiar with, and like just manipulating it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that there's something new, adding new elements, because it does take from all like a bunch of different sources.
Yeah.
And cultural references. There are references to one of my like a really great childhood novel called The Wind in the Willows. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Okay, so the frog and all the frog boat is very reminiscent of that book. And one of the really fun kind of thematic things of the TV show is every episode is essentially, they're all pretty similar thematically. And they all start with, you're introduced with something that is a little creepy, suspicious, potentially evil. And then it turns out it was all okay in the end. And everyone gets along just fine. And it's beautiful. It's kind of spooky and scary, but it's heartwarming and charming.
There are genuinely creepy moments when they finally reveal what the beast looks like for just like a glimmer. It's kind of freaky looking. It's like a Lovecraftian little fucker weirdo. The first episode, what I love most about this show, like as far as the aesthetics go, is that it's like a cartoon, so it's hard to say it, but it has really good lighting effects.
Yeah, it does. It gets the haunted forest right. But you also see like different lighting schemes for the forest. So sometimes you get like the really dark and creepy, and other times it's very autumn and fall and golden light, which also has kind of this weird creepy vibe to it in its own separate way.
That first episode where you see the woodsman for the first time, and just the way that it's just so pitch black, and that very faint but very powerful lantern is just cutting through everything. And then you have the dog.
Greg not taking anything seriously. So like they're in this deep, dark, scary woods, and then Greg's like, we should say hi.
Candy camouflage.
Candy camouflage.
Greg is very funny, and what I appreciate a lot about the show too is that you can feel that they're at points they're dipping into like sort of tropey narrative beats. There's like that point in the end where Wert is like kind of pissed at Greg. He's like projecting all of his anger and frustration onto Greg and essentially blaming Greg for the fact that they're lost in this forest. And in a dumber show, it would be like a moment that gets the two apart, where like Greg is mad at Wert and Wert's mad at Greg, but Greg doesn't care. It's kind of funny. Greg is immovably chipper, which I really enjoy about his character.
Yeah, I love the playing on those tropes where it does often lean into them, but in an ironic sort of way. And like when we first meet Beatrice, the bird, and Greg frees her, and she's like, "You two look like two boys with no purpose in life," and like the way that line is delivered, I'm like, that seems a little on the nose and odd. But like when you think back to that line, it's like, oh, this makes sense, and it's clever in the way that it kind of plays with those very familiar story beats.
Well, another one too, spoilers, I'm getting to a mild spoiler here, but the whole thing is like, it might be a projection of like a near-death experience, possibly. But there's this, in like episode 9, we find out that like this is happening sort of like as a dream in the real world. There's a real world Greg and Wert who are just, kids in like this small town on Halloween night, and Wert's made a mixtape for this girl that he really likes. But one thing I really like is that the way that story is set up is that Wert, there's this girl that he likes, and there's this guy that apparently is going to ask her out, and it's at like a football game. So you're like, oh my god, is the girl going to be some cheerleader and the guy some jock? The girl is the mascot, and she's just a dork, and the guy, Jason Funderburger.
Jason Funderburger.
Hey, Jason Funderburger.
Oh, hey, Wert. Let's go, Sarah.
Is just one of the dorkiest guys of all time. But it's that heartwarming part of it is the fact that like there is no dumb story beats where the jocks are mean to Wert. Everybody likes Wert. Everyone seems to like each other, and he's just
shy, and like his issue isn't necessarily that no one likes him. People like him. He's just not.
Yeah.
He's too insecure about himself.
He's creating all these problems for himself. And, he's freaking out because they introduced Jason Funderburger just by name first. And the way that he freaks out, you're like, oh my God, is it going to be some big
keep hearing about him. It's a great joke. When we finally meet Jason Funderburger.
Jason Funderburger.
It's just Jason Funderburger.
And then, of course, the cherry on top of that joke is when the frog at the very end is finally named Jason Funderburger.
Yeah, and you were there too, Jason Funderburker.
Me?
Not you, Jason Funderburker, my frog.
There's a frog that gets a different name every episode. Fun little joke.
Sometimes every other scene, particularly in the frog episode. The president, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington. All these names.
What's with George Washington, Mr. President? Benjamin Franklin!
I think that, though, when they reveal that it's sort of like a subconscious thing, I think that's where the show gets really interesting for me. Because one thing that I really like about it is the fact that this world feels so like lived in and dense, where it feels like every single character that they meet could be the main character with their own like view of the world, and but we just happen to be focused on Wert and Greg. Like the world is moving on whether or not these characters are in it. And there's like a lot of mysteries, and it doesn't fully explain everything. Like not everything gets some sort of conclusive arc or whatever. But it just keeps coming at you, subtle, not fully explored, and it just makes the world feel a lot more lived in, I guess.
Yeah, and to go back to like the sense of atmosphere and mood that the show has, the thing that I really appreciate about it, and the thing that's true of I think all great cartoons, is that it is just as enjoyable for adults as they are for children. That intelligently made entertainment can be entertaining for kids and as well as for adults.
Yeah,
and I think one of the things that I found really really fun about the show is it's silly and weird and fun, and something that appeals to the child and the inner child within you. But there's also like this deep kind of melancholy to the whole thing going on, and sadness sort of. And one of the opening song is that the frog, we find out the frog sings, but it's it's just the theme song. And one of the lines in it is, if dreams can't come true, then why not pretend? And you can see like particularly the woodsman is a very tragic character. And
good old Christopher Doyle.
And I think you could read the whole thing as an allegory for Wert's need to choose and to not give up on his dream of getting the girl. And that's what the beast represents, the giving up on pursuing dreams and what you want, and just kind of going with the nothingness of life. And there's a certain melancholy to it, because I'm not sure the show is entirely saying that everyone is going down that path. Everyone does succeed like Wert does in the end of getting the girl. There is kind of, we cut back at the end to see all the residents of the unknown. And
it's a great little ending to it. It's the song in full, and
it's bittersweet, emphasis on sweet, but still there's like they went through a lot in that place. And it was a very emotionally hard journey for Wert and for the woodsman and for a great many people in the unknown.
Well, that scene in particular speaks more to this idea that there is like they're all kind of main characters, because it's a nice little wrap up. We get to see the woodsman reunite with his daughter. We get to see Beatrice lift the curse or whatever. And it's just they string it together through the theme song, and I'm just like looking at all these. And I'm like, any one of these characters could have been the main character. It could have been all about this. But the fact that like you just see bits and pieces of it, it feels interconnected in a way that most things just don't. And I think that sort of works well with the episodic structure. But yeah, that I watched that scene a lot just because it's, if you type the theme song, that's what plays is that in that clip, and it's just it is very beautiful. It's not fully resolved, but it is.
I'm amazed at how much they accomplish in each 10-minute episode. And they create a world.
Yeah.
And each episode introduces essentially a whole new cast of characters, even at the end too. And each character that is introduced feels like it is a part of this wider thing that is happening. And it's, a lot of movies struggle to create a living world where it seems like it has a life of its own outside of the narrative. But this manages to do it in 10 minutes for each episode. And then, and you remember them. And by the time you're, 10 episodes in, you get to the end and you cut back and you see everyone again. You remember them. There's no forgetting it or anything like that. To go back to my favorite Dune 1984, all the characters that like die halfway through. And then you get to the end and you're like, I don't remember any of these people. And that's not the case here. You remember everyone. I could give you an exhaustive list of all the fun, interesting characters that are introduced, even like some of the like small bit characters. And that's partially because of I'm the highwayman.
I'm the highwayman. I make ends meet.
And it's partially because it's like it's evoking something, tropes and imagery from elsewhere, and building off of those. It's like creating its own myth based around other like pop culture references and other literary references. And that's partially what makes it so memorable, is because it's putting its own funny, interesting twist on those things.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them, I love how sometimes they'll explain it, there'll be a little exposition as to what it is, like the pumpkin village. And then sometimes they're just like, they throw you into it like, okay, this is a school where they teach animals.
Well, there's just a boat of frogs. It's a fairy apparently, but then they go hibernating at the end of it.
Which that's one of my favorite bits in the little last song, is when the frog comes out of the dirt and he goes back in. Also, the music's great. Potato and molasses is a jam.
Oh, potatoes and molasses. I've had it stuck in my head, and I don't have a problem with it.
Oh, potatoes and molasses.
That's the thing, though, is that part of me, like, the more and more I think about it, I'm like, is this like a thing? Do people do this? I feel like these flavors wouldn't match at all.
No, it's just like a silly concoction the show created.
Yeah.
I think I saw a recipe on YouTube. Someone made a potatoes and molasses thing.
It sounds awful.
But yeah, it's got great music, a really eclectic taste in music, pulling from a bunch of different genres. None of it's pop. It's all kind of like older movie or older music. There's like kind of like jazz themes in there.
Not reggae. Ragtime. Yeah. Jazz, a little bit of ragtime, a little bit of whatever the fuck the highwayman is.
A little bit of everything. A little bit of opera, sort of. I was interested to hear the guy who played the Beast was a former opera singer.
Oh, interesting.
And he does get a couple like background songs that go on during his scenes, I think, in the last episode.
None other than John Cleese.
John Cleese appears twice.
What is it? Twice?
Mm-hmm. He's the Endicott's. And he plays, I'm pretty sure, the Beatrice, the witch with the string.
Oh, Adelaide?
Yeah, Adelaide. That's what I mean. Yeah, not Beatrice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Endicott and Adelaide.
Did you see the short film that this was based off of?
I did not.
You should. It's on YouTube. It's like
I don't know
7
why.
or 8 minutes long. It's essentially just an episode of the show. Like it's the exact same thing. They're looking through the forest. They find a village of vegetable people. It's a good little jumping off point. It's cute.
Yeah.
But
It's a very cute miniseries. Highly recommend. Just anyone.
You breeze through it. It's
Mhm.
so funny. It's so charming. It's genuinely creepy at points. It's perfect for this time of year. It's
Got
on
a little
Hulu.
bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna get the Blu-ray here soon. I wonder if there's any features on it. Probably not.
I
'cause
was-
it's a show, but
I watched it on Hulu, and it's so short that they don't put ads on it. So I got used to the no ads whatsoever, and then I went and watched the new episodes, a few new episodes of What We Do in the Shadows, and the ads popped up. I was like, God damn it, so fucking annoying.
the only cringe bit about this show is the fact that they don't play the theme song in full. Well, it's probably fine because it's like a minute and a half long, but still, you only get it the first episode. But you get the little piano jingle, which is nice. Yeah, Over the Garden Wall, highly recommend.
It's
Very
great.
good.
It's
Quality
really
cartoon.
great. I don't know why I put it off for so long. It's been on my watch list for a while now. It's been, I can't remember where it is, but it's pretty high on the Letterboxd.
It's very
ranking
high. Yeah,
of everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's one of those
fairly
things
beloved.
people just give miniseries better score. Well, that's the thing is usually we have a miniseries, people feel the need after like 10 plus hours to give it 5 stars. But I don't know. It's like a movie length, but I genuinely just easy 5 stars. I loved it beginning. I don't think there's a single moment I wasn't engaged or charmed by it. Big fan. Jason Funderburg.
That's Jason. It's 12 on Letterboxd rankings of everything.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, next to Planet Earth 2 and Come and See.
Oh yeah, it's great bridge between those two. Good triple feature.